Mom, welcome back.
What happened? What's wrong? Dad said I'm too stupid to be with, that dealing with an idiot like me is a waste of time and money, and that we should just manage on our own from now on. Don't worry, you're a genius. That's not true. I'm not good at studying like my brother, and I'm not the best at soccer either. Just like he said, I'm useless and can't do anything right. It's not a lie. Michael, you have incredible talents that rival your brother's. I know this well. It's your dad who's the fool. One weekend, I returned home from errands to find my younger son curled up in a ball in his room. My husband had taken our older son, who is often called a child prodigy, and left the house. I would agree to a divorce. 15 years later, I had started a new job, and as part of that job, I was to conduct an interview with a candidate. Please, come in. Why are you here? He looked surprised to see me at the interview venue. But if he thought this was surprising, he was in for more. My name is Emily. I'm 38 years old and work at an IT company. My husband, Henry, is 2 years older than me, and we've been married for 12 years. We met at work. We both work in web marketing at the same company. Our relationship started at the workplace, so it wasn't particularly dramatic. After getting married, I changed departments, but I still work at the same company as my husband. We have 2 children, our 10-year-old son Ethan and our 8-year-old son Michael. From the outside, it might seem like we have a perfect family life, blessed with both work and children. However, for the past 5 years, I've been troubled by something. This is recording, next is construction, right? Ethan, that's amazing. You're still in kindergarten, and you can already read such difficult words. We were watching a quiz show as a family when our 5-year-old son effortlessly read out the words on the screen. My husband and I couldn't help but focus more on our son's answers than on the show itself, as any parent would. While he couldn't read the more complex words that came later, he correctly identified nearly all the elementary-level words at the beginning. You're a genius. You'll grow up to be an even greater person than us. My husband praised Ethan, ruffling his hair vigorously. Ethan looked a bit annoyed but also seemed pleased. Some might think it's a bit much to get so excited over a kid reading a few words. But Ethan's brilliance isn't just limited to reading. Hey, listen. Today at kindergarten, a friend caught a praying mantis, and the teacher said to let it go because it was too sad to keep it. But I knew the teacher was scared of bugs. She acted like she was fine, but I think she was really scared. She probably thought if people knew she was afraid, they'd tease her with the mantis. I found it funny how hard she was trying to hide her fear. At dinner, Ethan enthusiastically recounted his day at kindergarten. He was so engrossed in his story that he forgot to eat. My husband and I nodded and smiled, eating our food as we listened to him. Many 5-year-olds excitedly talk about their day, often in a jumbled way that can be hard to follow. But Ethan's storytelling was remarkably clear and structured, using conjunctions to connect his thoughts coherently. It felt like conversing with an older elementary school student. Besides his verbal skills, Ethan also excelled in basic math. Moreover, what's amazing about our eldest son is that he learns things on his own without us having to teach him or send him to any classes. I think the reason Ethan became self-sufficient in his learning was largely due to the children's tablet we bought him when he was 3. These days, tablets and educational apps are really something, aren't they? That might be true, but it's also because Ethan himself is incredibly capable. He's a genius. A real genius. Henry looks proudly at Ethan, who is using the tablet to practice writing words while sitting on the living room sofa. I also think Ethan is a genius, but I didn't want to be seen as a biased parent, so I tried to convince myself that the amazing thing was the tablet and the educational apps, not Ethan himself. However, something happened that even I couldn't deny his genius. The tutor was surprised, wasn't he? Yes, Ethan got perfect scores in all subjects on the entrance test for the tutoring center. And when asked questions at a third-grade level, he answered without any trouble. So the tutor, with a surprised look, said, "This child is a prodigy." So now we have the tutor's endorsement. It's clear it's not just parental bias. Spreading the perfect test papers on the table, our faces softened with pride. When he started elementary school, we decided to enroll him in a tutoring center. We had always planned to eventually enroll him in one, but we decided to do it earlier than planned because we felt that learning solely from the tablet had its limits. I'll stop by the tutoring center after school again today. Another question for the teacher? Yes. I'll also study in the empty classroom. All right. I'll pick you up after work. Ethan put on his shoes and energetically headed off to school. If you only looked at him, he seemed like an ordinary elementary school student. I waved to Ethan, who didn't look back as he left. He seemed to enjoy studying so much that he started going to the tutoring center even on days he didn't have classes. He found studying at the tutoring center more efficient than studying on his own and seemed to enjoy it. For an ordinary person like me, studying was always a struggle, but for Ethan, it seemed more fun than playing games. Is that the difference between an ordinary person and a genius? This might sound like I'm boasting about Ethan, but the reason I've been troubled for the past 5 years is because of Ethan's brilliance. While Ethan's prodigious nature is always the talk among people around us, we also have a second son, Michael. Unlike Ethan, Michael is an ordinary child. Since kindergarten, he hasn't been able to read words or do math or science. But so what? I understand why people focus on Ethan, but as their mother, both of them are equally precious to me. Just because Ethan is a prodigy doesn't mean I'll treat him any differently, and I give Michael just as much love as I do Ethan. Enrolling Ethan in the tutoring center was not about favoritism, it was what we thought was best for him. When Michael started elementary school, he became interested in soccer, so we enrolled him in a local soccer club. On days when practice ends late, we pick him up, and we buy him balls and gear. Michael seems to be more active than Ethan. Hey, bro. Can you help me with my homework? Again? What don't you understand? With a disgruntled expression, Ethan stopped his own studies to help Michael solve a problem. Although Ethan seemed reluctant, he had never refused his younger brother's request for help. Ethan was interested in studying, while Michael preferred sports. Despite their different interests and personalities, the brothers got along well. No one in our family distinguished between the older and younger sons. Except for one person. Ethan, I heard from your tutor that you got the top score on the test again. They said your skills are among the best in the country. I don't care about the rankings. No, that's not how it works. You need a reward for achieving results. Is there something you want or something you'd like to do? It's okay. You just took me to the botanical garden the other day. Don't hold back. It's my job to make studying easier for you. Well, I'm running low on highlighters. Got it. I'll get you a set of 10 colors. Keep up the good work. While patting Ethan on the back, my husband praised him for his excellent test results and tried to reward him. Ethan looked slightly annoyed. Now that Ethan was 10 and Michael was 8, there was a significant difference in their academic abilities. Neither I nor the boys minded this. However, Henry was different. He openly favored Ethan. He bought all sorts of things for Ethan. They even went to the botanical garden together, just the two of them. My husband took Ethan because he wanted to observe plants for his studies. As a result, he decided there was no need for me and Michael to go. Michael, stop playing soccer all the time and follow your brother's example. You can't make a living playing soccer. Seeing him watching TV beside the studying older son, my husband suddenly became expressionless after smiling just moments before. Michael watched TV only after finishing his homework, and Ethan always studied without being disturbed by the TV sound. This was self-study. So, it wasn't like he was slacking off. But since he hadn't achieved results in either academics or soccer, my husband viewed him as if he were slacking off. Sure, winning competitions is important in society. But it's too early to talk about this with an 8-year-old. Moreover, I couldn't tolerate his words. Hey! Michael is doing his best, and that's enough. Why do you compare him to Ethan? Is it enough just to do your best? If you don't produce results, efforts are meaningless. Why are our children so different in abilities? What do you mean by abilities? Michael is fine just the way he is. Unable to bear his words, I shouted. But he, convinced he was right, walked out of the living room with a smug smile. His favoritism towards Ethan began 5 years ago, and his treatment of Michael had become increasingly harsh. I tried to correct my husband, but his attitude didn't change, leaving me frustrated. When I looked at Michael, he was slumped over as if he had done something wrong. Seeing his expression made me sad. Michael turned off the TV and went to his room. By the age of 8, children understand adults' words. His words must have hurt Michael's feelings. I chased after Henry to our bedroom and yelled at him again. What are you thinking? Michael looked so sad. I think it's also a problem that Michael's mental toughness is weak. Whether it's in academics or sports, achieving results requires a strong mentality. Maybe I should toughen him up. He had an unpleasant smirk on his face, as if he had thought of something bad. His expression looked devilish to me, and my anger towards his words had now turned into fear. Stop saying things that hurt Michael. Suppressing my fear, I tried to warn him as loudly as possible. The true nature of this fear would soon become apparent. The next morning, I saw my younger son, having finished his homework, watching TV, while my older son was studying, unfazed by the TV's noise. Seeing this usual scene, my husband walked briskly to the younger one and turned off the TV with the remote. Stop slacking off. Why do you have such a lazy habit? Look at your brother. He's studying. Don't you think you should do the same? Playing soccer every evening until late, what's the point of that? Do you think you can become the best in soccer? If not, you can't make a living out of it. Instead, you should study for your future. If you don't, I'll kick you out of this house. My younger son, unable to comprehend the sudden yelling, started to cry silently. Even my older son's studying hand stopped. The fear of my husband paralyzed me, my older son, and my younger son, creating a few seconds of silence. Unable to endure the silence, my younger son jumped up from the couch and ran crying to his room. How can you say such things out of the blue? What are you thinking? Not wanting to argue in front of Ethan, I grabbed my husband's arm and pulled him into the bedroom. You're hurting me. Let go. What were you thinking, suddenly yelling at Michael like that? Yesterday, I thought maybe he is half-hearted in both studying and sports because his mentality is weak. So, I thought of yelling at him when he slacks off or doesn't get results. That way, he might develop some discipline. His expression was serious. I felt a renewed fear towards him, who believed in this unbelievable method of education. It was natural for me to decide that I couldn't let my husband be involved with our younger son anymore. Stop that. Don't get involved with Michael anymore. I see. You handle Michael. I'll take care of Ethan. Though I was pleading for help, my husband seemed to have another bad idea. For the next month, my husband did as I asked and refrained from getting involved with our younger son's education, avoiding conversation as much as possible. It seemed that his idea of handling Michael and me handling Ethan meant that each of us would take charge of educating one child. I didn't think it was a good educational method, but it was better than him continuing to yell at Michael. Moreover, the older one was self-reliant and could make decisions like an adult, so there would be no problem even if I didn't interfere with his education. Though it was an undesirable situation, I decided it was the best way to protect Michael for now. However, his thinking was far beyond my imagination. One weekend, I had to be out of the house from morning until evening for errands. When I returned home, I felt a strange sense of discomfort the moment I stepped into the entrance. Whether it was necessary or not, I walked cautiously down the hallway without making a sound and headed towards the living room. When I slowly opened the living room door and peeked inside, I noticed that the scenery of the room had changed. Items from the shelves were gone. I was momentarily alarmed, thinking that a burglar had broken in, but the items taken seemed odd for a thief, and the room was not ransacked. It was as if only the necessary things had been taken. No one was in the living room, so I headed to the children's room, worried about them. When I put my hand on the doorknob of my second son's room, I sensed someone inside. Gathering my courage, I gently opened the door.
Oh, Mom, welcome back.
Despite it being already evening and dim, my second son was sitting curled up in his room without turning on the lights. Without turning on the light, I rushed to my son, who had a gloomy expression. What happened? What's wrong? Dad said I'm stupid and he doesn't need me, that dealing with a fool is a waste of time and money, and we should just manage on our own. As my son continued to speak, my anger gauge filled up. I was about to explode. But seeing my son's sad face, my anger subsided a bit, and sadness took over. Don't worry, you're a genius. That's not true. I can't study like my big brother, and I'm not #1 in soccer. Just like he said, I'm stupid and useless. It's not a lie. You have talents that can surpass even Michael. I know it well. The real fool is your father. Are you hungry? How about some dinner? I decided to switch the topic to dinner to ease my son's sorrow, even though it might have been to mask my own sadness and anger. It seemed my husband thought we should not co-parent our children but instead divorce and each take a child, separating their environments. With different views on education, my husband probably thought that having our child prodigy of a son stay with our less academically inclined son would be a bad influence. I agreed with the divorce. I didn't want my husband and my second son together, and our arguments must have been heard by the children even if they were in another room. For the children's sake, I thought it best if we divorced. However, I was against my husband taking Ethan. Thus, the divorce discussions got heated over the matter of our eldest son. So, we decided to ask him directly. Naturally, I expected my eldest to want to stay with me, but I want to live with Dad. He said he wants to live with me too, right? I was shocked into silence by my eldest son's words. Seeing me like this, my husband laughed quietly. Since our eldest wanted to live with his father, there was nothing I could do, and the final divorce result was that my husband would take our eldest and I would take our youngest. For my results-oriented husband, it must have been a satisfying outcome. However, the subsequent outcome did not go as he planned. 15 years later, not wanting to work at the same company as my ex-husband, I had taken the opportunity of the divorce to find a different job. We moved, but I didn't want to transfer my youngest son, so we moved close by. My ex-husband seemed to think the same and moved not far from our old house. Child support stopped when our eldest entered college. I wanted to complain, but I had a new job and my income had increased. So, I decided it was less stressful to avoid any further involvement with him. Today, as part of my new job, I had an interview with a job applicant. "Please, come in." The person who came for the interview entered the company conference room, and instead of a greeting, their words were filled with surprise.
What? Why are you guys here?
Henry was so surprised that he took a step back, bumping into the door that was still open. Considering that only my second son and I were sitting as interviewers in the interview room, it was no wonder he was shocked. "Please, have a seat." With a doubtful look on his face, my husband slowly sat down without saying a word, as if questioning if he was dreaming. Since he hadn't followed business etiquette since entering the room, he would already have failed if this were a real interview. Of course, I had no intention of passing him. I had that authority.
Why are you here? And Michael too. Are you guys from HR? No, there was someone from HR during the first interview. What are you doing in this company?
You didn't research this company properly before coming to the interview. That's not acceptable. I did research the company. It's a web consulting firm, established 15 years ago, with an annual revenue of $8 million. I applied because I thought I could use my web marketing knowledge. Did you check the company website? The name of the CEO?
The CEO's name?
You didn't do your research properly. You can take out your smartphone and check right now. Still looking puzzled, my ex-husband took out his smartphone from his bag, turned it on, and started looking at the company's website. My son and I exchanged a sly smile, anticipating his reaction.
The CEO's name on the company info page. The name is... What?
I couldn't help but burst into laughter at my ex-husband's reaction to seeing my name listed as the CEO.
Why is your name listed as the CEO?
Because I am the CEO of this company.
What?
15 years ago, after our divorce, I quit my job and used my experience to start a web consulting company. My new job was being the CEO of a web consulting firm. Although it was tough at first, as my ex-husband said, the company grew to an annual revenue of $8 million in 5 years. Unbeknownst to him, he applied for a job at my company hoping to leverage his web marketing experience. Like me, he had moved not far from our previous home. This meant our living and commuting areas were similar. So it wasn't surprising that he found my rapidly growing company when searching for a place to utilize his web marketing skills. What was surprising was that he had overlooked the CEO's name while applying. When I reviewed the applications of those who passed the first interview, I saw your resume and thought it would be interesting to have you come in today. Oh, and of course you're disqualified for not checking the CEO's name.
You, who spoiled our son by telling him that trying hard without expecting results is enough, are the CEO.
Henry realized that I, with a different mindset from his, had succeeded in my career. Desperately trying to deny this, he seemed to be struggling to come up with words to invalidate me. Sweat began to bead on his forehead, and he looked around uneasily. As he glanced around, his eyes landed on our son, and he started to speak. You being the CEO just means you're talented. I'll give you that. But with you as the CEO, doesn't that mean Michael got into this company because of your authority? He's just riding on your coattails, not achieving anything on his own. You really can't raise a child without spoiling them. How will Michael survive on his own? I didn't use my authority as the CEO to get Michael into the company. I made sure he went through the same interviews and tests as any other applicant. You can say anything you want, but it's just words. Even if he got in through special treatment, Michael has already proven himself as an exceptional salesperson in just 1 year. Isn't that the kind of result you value? He works in sales at a web consulting company, right? If he was an idiot, he wouldn't be able to handle web consulting. That's not true. To do sales, you need to be able to explain web consulting in a way that convinces the client. So, you always need to be up to date with the latest knowledge and technology.
Plus, sales skills are essential, so I think his role is even more important than being on the ground. In the future, I plan for him to become a sales engineer, working alongside salespeople. Michael, who spent all his time playing soccer, becoming a technician, and already delivering results in just 1 year.
You only look at results, so you didn't realize that Michael is a genius. He's a genius of hard work. When he was in elementary school, my younger son would stay behind longer than anyone else, practicing soccer more seriously than anyone. He may not have become the best in soccer, but he has the ability to keep trying no matter the situation. This is a crucial ability in society. Before our divorce, I couldn't forgive my ex-husband for trying to crush that talent for hard work with his meaningless insults. That's why I yelled at him. After the divorce, my son decided to help with my company and went to a university for information technology. Although he wasn't good at studying, he used his talent for hard work to put in more than twice the effort and achieve top-class grades at university. His existence proves that my education wasn't wrong. Henry, realizing the importance of the effort that goes into results, seemed to be at a loss for words. Seeing him speechless satisfied me, but my younger son seemed to want to challenge him a bit more. Dad, in the section of your resume about your motivation for applying, you wrote that you want to take on new challenges. Isn't that a lie?
What?
It's not a lie. I want to use my web marketing knowledge and gain expertise in web consulting next. That's not it, right? You were counting on my brother's income, but he took a job at some company with just an okay salary instead of a big firm, so you're looking for a new job, aren't you? Did Ethan tell you that? You knew and still asked? What a nasty kid you've become.
Well, you're half right. Why don't you come in now?
My younger son called out loudly towards the door, where someone was standing outside. As the door creaked open, my ex-husband, still seated, turned to face it. Ethan, you work here too?
Yeah, I do. I'm learning web consulting from a senior. When I graduated from college and got a job, you yelled at me to get a better job, remember? That job was here. I've been in touch with Mom, and after hearing about the company, I wanted to help too.
Ethan applied without telling me, so I was shocked when I saw his resume before the final interview. Even though you must have heard about this company from my brother, you seem to have completely forgotten it over the past 3 years. Well, it's no wonder since you were only interested in having your prodigy son get a good job to support you.
I wasn't thinking that at all. Why would you say something like that?
Ever since you divorced Mom, you've been trying to drill things into me, like how I should aim for a big corporate job or how I owe you for raising me and should take care of you in the future. Even as a kid, I could see through those dark intentions. I disliked you ever since elementary school.
Then why did you come to live with me after the divorce?
I thought if I went to live with Mom, your situation would worsen. So, I chose to stay with you, hoping you'd change into a more responsible person like Mom. But unfortunately, it was impossible. You quit the job Ethan and I worked it when he was in college, right? You thought you wouldn't need to work hard at an IT company anymore because he would support you soon. So, you started relying on his money and became a part-time worker. living off your savings and retirement funds while planning to be supported by your son once he got a job, only to find out he was employed at some unknown company, ruining your plan. That's why you lashed out at him about his job. When you became a part-time worker, I gave up hope that you'd ever change. That's why I moved out as soon as I got a job. Maybe if I had Michael's perseverance, I would have kept trying to change your mind. No way, this dad of ours is hopeless. If he started working part-time expecting to be taken care of, even I would give up. A prodigious Ethan and a hard-working Michael. I felt fortunate, watching them laugh and chat together, imagining a bright future. My ex-husband, on the other hand, seemed to be envisioning a bleak future, his face dark with worry. He had left me and our younger son to be supported by our prodigious elder son. But now, he was being abandoned by all three of us. Please, hire me at this company. I've been a part-time worker for the past 7 years, and I'm out of money. No one will hire me. Of course not. This industry evolves rapidly with new technologies and information. With a 7-year gap, it's hard to find a job. So I tried to get a job during Ethan's 4-year gap after graduation, but that didn't work out, and I just drifted along until now.
I don't care about your past. Results matter, right? You're not needed in the IT industry anymore. That's the current reality. No way. Hey, Ethan, you owe me for raising you. Convince her.
It was clear my ex-husband had learned nothing. After 15 years, his words made me snap.
You. Enough already. Children aren't raised to be taken care of or to be bragged about. What kind of gratitude do you think you deserve? We should be grateful they were born to us.
My raised voice brought employees into the conference room, curious about the commotion.
He's leaving. Please show him out.
He was escorted out of the conference room by the employee who rushed in. The look in his eyes was one of utter frustration. However, considering that I had recognized our younger son's talent and hard work, leading to the company's growth, he couldn't say anything to me. I had yelled at my ex-husband, and I worried that I might have scared our children, so I nervously looked at their faces. To my relief, their expressions seemed to praise me, as if saying I did the right thing. Abandoned by me and our 2 sons, my ex-husband began searching for a job outside the IT industry. Even though he had a gap in his resume, it took a lot of courage to throw away over 20 years of experience. But lacking that courage, he stuck with the IT field, resulting in a long job search that left him almost penniless. At 55, he ended up with no money and took a job at a grocery store, a completely new field for him. Though he wanted to work hard, learning new things was tough at his age, and he lacked the stamina. Therefore, not only did his younger bosses reprimand him, but even college student part-timers scolded him. It must be mentally and physically exhausting for him, but changing jobs wouldn't improve his situation much. No matter how hard it is, I think it's best for him to continue with his current job. Our company remains successful. However, it's said that breaking through $10 million in annual revenue is a significant hurdle. We are currently at $8 million, so our next goal is to surpass that barrier. Although it will be challenging, with my 2 talented children, I believe we can achieve it.